Assalamu alaikum. Ustad Hassan Ali,
Now, are we ready to
you
begin?
can begin. Yes.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم عليه اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا صلى الله على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وآله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين.
Mm. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Shukran ala hudurikum jami'an. Yusharafituna tidafatukum. Welcome and thank you everyone for joining us today. It's our honor to host you in our month of mercy. This is the IQOU Ramadan lecture series. Today we are going to be focusing on Eat Smart, Fast Strong, a doctor's guide for Ramadan energy. And we will be working with our guests today. So if you are still unaware of what IQU Theological College is and what it does, we revolutionized the delivery of traditional Islamic knowledge using a dynamic approach, which is holistic and progressive. So through this amalgamation of hybrid courses and experiential learning, we ensure that students emerge as well-rounded, Islamically grounded, productive members of society. Welcome. This is us ready to conquer the challenges of an ever-changing world. My name is Dr. Safwa, and today you are going to be joining us for our second part of our holistic four-part Ramadan series designed to strengthen your worship, to build your habits and your health. And each session, it focuses on a core area of Ramadan life. Last week, we had the fiqh and inner meaning of fasting. This week, we have doctor-led guidance on smart eating and energy. Next week, we'll have Qur'an engagement. And then the last week, we'll talk about prophetic character. So when you finish our series, you'll leave with practical, faith-rooted tools to make this Ramadan your most intentional and balanced yet. So welcome again to Eat Smart, Fast Strong, a doctor's guide for Ramadan energy. I would like to introduce to you our lecturer for today, Dr. Rehan Zaidi. And before I even introduce him, I would like to thank him for sharing his valuable time and his knowledge and wisdom with us today. Dr. Rehan Zaidi is a doctor of naturopathic medicine, and he integrates evidence-based science with traditional and faith-centered medicine. So for 20 years, he trained with master healers in the Middle and Far East, focusing on how the body can strengthen and be strengthened and sustained during periods of discipline, restraint, and spiritual devotion. He has taught health workshops worldwide. So in today's program, Dr. Zaidi will aim to empower attendees to cultivate sustainable energy, resilience, and well-being. Welcome, Dr. Rehan.
جزاك الله خير. Okay. الحمد لله العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So inshallah we'll go through this in it might be a little bit different than what you're usually accustomed to in terms of the approach to Ramadan, but in our traditional Islamic sciences and the Eastern sciences, they always look at things from an energetic perspective. It was a vocabulary they used back because Western medicine, the way it's developed, it uses particular molecules and pathways to describe the mechanisms of action. Sometimes those details can end up losing us. We get too far into details. The Eastern therapies use things like warm, cold, dry, moist, and they were kind of a summary of what's happening in a language that makes sense to us because of our interaction with the world. We understand what dryness means. We understand what wet means. And I think that Western medicine inevitably will move in this direction. We're just thousands of years behind. The Eastern therapies had developed this language, and they've mastered this science and Western medicine is still wrapped up in certain details. They help, which will to some extent, but the holistic way the Eastern sciences explain things, there's no match to it. So there's a slide that shows the yin yang. So are you guys going to move the slides for me, or is there a way for me to do that?
Yes, we will move them for you.
Okay.
No problem.
So on the yin yang, right? This is many who wonder what this symbol means. It's just explaining that the a something as whole has parts to it. There has like a dark the side, right? That's the yin energy, and the white or the light part is the yang energy, and things have yin and yang in them. Within the yin and yang, there's other forms of energy that the yin or yang categorizes. For example, yin has a lot of coldness in it. Yang has a lot of heat in it. And so the light thing goes up, like heat rises, and cold yin comes down. And everybody has a certain amount of yin and yang in their body. So based on how much yin and how much yang you have, that can transform into more than just cold and hot. It can form into as a dampness and dryness and all the permutations in between. So Imam Suyuti has a book on Tibb Nabawi, and he describes that the Prophet ﷺ was the most balanced human being, and he was right in the middle of all of the permutations of yin and yang. They used to use the word humors. In Chinese medicine, they use the word. They have them as organs and as elements. The Ayurveda also has a similar twist to it. It's all similar language. So our goal is to be as balanced as possible, and to do that, we have to get in touch with ourselves. Everybody will be leaning towards one or the other in their balance. No one is perfect like Prophet ﷺ. So women are oftentimes, because of their nature, yin, they're a little bit colder. They can develop dampness in their body. Men oftentimes are more yang, and they have more heat in their system. So given that, and inshallah we will come back to it, I'm just giving a small idea of how energies work. Ramadan is a time where we do dry fasting. Dry fasting, we're not drinking or eating. Eating, we're avoiding, but not drinking is very unique to our the way of the Muslims. So this causes a excess heat condition in the body. It causes dryness, and what it does is it depletes the yin fluids in our body. It's very hard on the body, actually. Of course, there's lots of benefits. Inshallah, we'll talk about them at the end from like a Western medical perspective. But this depletion ends up depleting parts of the yin, okay, the nourishing and the fluid aspects of the body. Now, those who have more of them are able to fast stronger, depending on if they have how much energy. Some people are excess energy, some people are deficient energy. Those that are deficient will find fasting harder. Those who have excess energy, lots of energy, and this is not energy just from a Western perspective. Energy meaning the sum total of all of our abilities and the functions of the body. They'll be able to fast stronger. Either way, they deplete yin fluids. All right, so that's the fluids, the nourishing parts of the body, which we need. So this causes some type of dryness inside the system, and it generates heat. not because you're making heat, but because the yin fluids, see that symbol, if you go back to the yin and the yang, if one area decreases, the other naturally fills up more of the space. So the yang, the heat, ends up relatively becoming larger. So those who have a lot of heat, like many men, they will feel very hot during their fast. Sometimes women, they may begin to feel cold during the fast, and that's because both the yin and the yang have dried up, are becoming smaller. Which we oftentimes in Western medicine we say the metabolism is slowing down. But the thing is that this body is reacting differently based on how what our constitution is. And then the last thing is that it weakens our digestion. Don't worry about the word spleen. It's another term from Eastern medicine, but it means that the digestion is weakening in a way because we're not eating, we're missing a meal, and so we have to do things to counteract that. Okay, so the next slide, please. Yeah, so our goal in dry fasting, and in Ramadan specifically, is to eat foods that are very nourishing to the yin. And that requires us to be in touch with our bodies. A lot of us we feel, oh, I'm just being lazy. I should just get up and pray or read something, or I'm so tired after my meal, or I'm so tired from fasting. This is actually it's not just a matter of will. If we are in touch with our bodies, we'll be able to see when the body needs certain rest and what other things it might need. So in Ramadan, oftentimes we feel that we need to take a nap. That sleep in itself is yin. It's a nourishment. And so when we sleep, we can actually increase the yin production in our body. So sometimes taking a nap helps to nourish the yin. All right. And certain foods and certain exercises and other things will help to generate fluids, which we'll get into. And then there's ways to clear heat. So take an example of okay, so if you see a road where you have lots of cars on it, sometimes if there's a jam, like if there's something blocking the road, you can't just eat food or you can't just do something to open up the traffic, right? Like we would say, eat the following thing and it's going to tonify you, and that should clear everything up. It's not that simple. It's because like if there's a traffic jam, by adding more cars, you end up still having the traffic jam. The solution to that is to clear the jam. So you have to open channels. That's the way to move in Eastern therapies, the energy in the body. So in our approach can't always be, we need tonics. We need to eat something to benefit. Sometimes it's just to clear channels. And then you support, of course, digestive strength. Okay, so next slide, please. So in Ramadan, the ways to nourish the body is by eating foods that are gentle on the digestive system. And I know some people have goals and they want to, I want to lose weight during Ramadan and I want to get healthy. And they follow this Western kind of style of eating where I'm going to eat a raw salad after I break my fast. Actually, raw foods are very hard to digest, and they cause a strain on the digestive system. So you might feel that I'm trying to do everything right, I'm eating healthy, but it hurts after I get a bellyache, or I'm bloated, or I'm not losing weight. The reason is because Western medicine hasn't figured this out yet, that certain foods help to strengthen certain organs, and certain foods make organs it put more strain on them. The Easterners, they say to use foods that are easily digestible. And so, for instance, congee, or like rice cooked in water for a long time over a slow simmer, and it ends up taking up a lot of the water, it becomes a moist food. Same, so does oats or barley. And we, in our Islamic tradition, talbina is one of those things that you help people for to recover after an illness, for example. It's the same type of scenario, because um, those foods end up providing yin, okay, that nourishment during periods of dryness. Other yin foods include goji berries, yams, dates. So very, very interested we break fast with a date, because it's a yin food. From a Western perspective, it makes sense too. So any of the whole foods that we're eating um, end up having a spike in our sugar, in our the sugar that's digested and goes into the blood. That's called glycemic index. It as the amount of time it takes for the food to digest and release its sugar into the blood causes a spike, and then that's responded to by insulin from the pancreas. So what happens is we end up going through a spike in blood sugars, and then the the pancreas pushes out insulin, and then that makes a drop, and then sometimes people feel more hungry, and then they take another snack, and then there's like this bouncing that happens oftentimes after a fast, because we're so hungry we end up eating, like, sugary things, or things that are very heavy or hard for the digestive system, because producing a lot of insulin and producing a lot of using the digestion quickly after a fast is hard on it. So the talbina, or the slow release carbohydrates that are cooked really well, what they do is they make a slow, gradual increase of the amount of energy that's released from them, and that's gentle on the digestive tract. So this is a kind of a way to stabilize our blood sugars, especially if you're diabetic, or if you're just you find you're weakening a little bit as we age. I mean, all of us will need to be doing things like this. Younger people can still eat a chocolate bar. I mean, I remember, right? Yeah, Ramadan, I have to craving one thing, and I'm going to eat that one thing right after iftar. Their bodies can handle it. They're more resilient. But if you want to do it in a way that really supports the system, then you don't want to have sugary and fast glycemic foods. That's the secret of the date and some of the foods that are listed here. And other foods that also help the digestive process, and they're very nutrient dense, include broths. Okay, so bone broths, vegetable broths, chicken soup. All right, so people also use that for when others are sick. These are the type of foods that are actually really very, very beneficial to us. You'll see that you'll be nourished. You'll have more energy during night for your salah, and by the end of the Ramadan, you won't be as depleted, because it's extracting bone broths extract a lot of nutrients and minerals from their the source food, the bones, and they're easy to digest again. So the body doesn't have to work as hard. We do have a problem with a lot of medicines now coming in liquid forms. The reason is because people are not able to absorb the nutrients in them, and then they just come out into the digestive tract, into the stool. So Western medicine is catching up to this, but still might be a couple years behind. So we can do this by ourselves. Long boiled, simmered foods that nourish. Think of it as nourishment. And you can almost tell. If anyone's confused, hey, what, I need a full list of all the things that are nourishing, you could pop it into Google, and there's lots of, you can write up, the energetics of food, like, beef, right? We're gonna have ground beef for iftar, samosa, right? Ground beef, fried, the energetics from Eastern medicine, and it'll come out. It'll explain. So, for example, I'm sure if people have heard of the meat sweats, right? When you eat too much meat. Well, in Eastern medicine, uh, beef is a hot food. You don't get the meat sweats from chicken. It's also meat, but there's a different energy. So having um, heavy protein, and again, a very Western idea. Have a big chunk of protein with a fresh salad. It's the hardest thing on the digestive system, and it's hot. It's not good for Ramadan. So you can plop in these things if you need more ideas on what the energy of food is. We actually talk about this, especially in people from the Arab world or Pakistan or all these areas. They say, what's the tasir? What's the tasir of the food? That comes from the Arabic word ta'thir, athar, like the effect. And so Eastern medicine always talked about this. Even in the Prophet ﷺ's eating habits, he used to eat, for instance, a date with a cucumber, because they're balancing. It balances the energy of the food. So that's why we're approaching these things from a kind of an Islamic medicine and Eastern therapies perspective. It shifts a little bit about how we think. The other things that help to with in Ramadan are going to be foods that build chi, or energy, the energy, overall energy of the body, not energy in a Western medicine sense, but the power of the organs, and blood, okay, which is not just the stuff that's coursing through the body, but again a nourishing fluid, that not just the red stuff that goes through our arteries and veins. It's blood is kind of yin, chi is kind of energy. Okay, so next slide. So I just gave just throwing out a couple things just to keep things simple. I want to, because this is a big a paradigm shift for a lot of people, the way we're thinking about food. It's not so reductionistic like sometimes some Western types of thinking. So soft boiled eggs, a bone broth. We probably have a list coming up of things to avoid too. And let's see, next slide. Oh yes, okay. Things again. Pears. So fruit are actually quite good. So oftentimes people serve fruit in their iftar because they have a lot of fluid, right? You have I mean, eating a piece of fruit, grapes, these things right at iftar, it ends up having this yin, this moist nature to it. And certain fruits are more yin than others, like pears, for example, specifically counter dryness. There's teas, watermelon. I mean, we're in winter now, so maybe not everyone has watermelon, but I remember the watermelon was the best thing you could break iftar after and have in the hotter days. But it's coming from the same angle. It's coming from the angle of nourishing yin fluids. All right, so things to avoid. A lot of our favorite iftar platters. So fried foods with beef or lamb, right? Like samosas come to mind. Those are not going to be very good for breaking fast. Spicy foods, because they add heat, and what that does is it can damage more of the yin fluid that's already sensitive. And yes, this is for if you have heat symptoms. Okay, so people who have heat symptoms, these are the things that are going to help them more to avoid the hot foods and to eat the ones that are nourishing. And I think the next slide talks about people who have more cold symptoms. Yes, yeah. So there's some people feel very cold during Ramadan. So for them, tonics are better. So the porridges that we talked about, like talbina, ginger in small amounts, because ginger is hot, and you don't want to make too much heat to dry. But some of those people will need the ginger tea instead. Chicken broths, oats, things to avoid for sure is raw veggies and even fruit sometimes, because your digestive capacity can't handle it after a fast. And also ice drinks. Yeah, people, like chugging cold water first thing after a fast. Warm it up a little bit or have it as a tea is better, or even lukewarm, because in Eastern therapy, the cold is damaging or hard on the digestive system. In a Western medicine perspective, cold decreases enzymatic activity and dilutes the hydrochloric acid in your stomach. It works from a Western perspective, but it's deeper than that. And so we can explain things from a Western sense, but the Eastern vocabulary adds more depth. Okay, and next slide. So here's some general take-homes. Avoid the raw, greasy, or overly cold foods. Eat warm, moist, simple meals. Another really big part, again, all from the Sunnah, is to eat smaller amounts. And it's the worst vessel that man can fill, right, is the stomach. Just even if you end up having you go to an iftar and mashallah, everyone is just they want to treat their guests nicely, and they have samosas and all the best tasting food. Eat less. Your digestive capacity will be able to handle it compared to eating more. So you can still eat less and still benefit. It won't be as difficult for your digestive tract. And then sipping small amounts of warm water instead of cold water, and then we can talk a little bit more about the digestion as we move on. So, okay, next slide. All right. So, Western medical perspective. So, I spoke a little bit about glycemic index and the pancreas and how blood sugar spiking and insulin end up being hard on the body and the digestion. But at the same time, that's why we have all these Western benefits to fasting. That decreases inflammation. It helps to fight cancer. Well, how is it doing all that? If you use Ramadan and you let the body shift into this dry fasting state, what happens is that the body goes through something called autophagy, which is it cleans itself out. Organs, proteins, areas within cells that are damaged, it develops a small membrane around, and then it releases produces like a lysosome and fuses it so that the cell, the little areas in the body, the cells, end up destroying the parts that are damaged within that cell. And when that happens, those things get cleared out into the blood and then out through stool and urine, and the body is detoxing. So autophagy is this cleaning out of the cells that happens specifically when the cell is under strain. Healthy cells are already clean, so they're very resilient. But cancer cells or cells that have a lot of gunk and toxicity inside them, this dry fasting forces them to clean the house. And sometimes it gets to a point where they can't even clean it. They have to destroy the cell itself. And that's called apoptosis. That is very specific to extending life and decreasing cancer in the body. So Western benefits, we can look at it in this level of science, that Ramadan really benefits this ability to make the body and the cells that are alive either resilient or clean them out or to kill them off, that nothing else does. Of course, exercise and anything that the body is pushed to strain itself, it becomes resilient. But this is a very unique particular benefit by reducing the water content. However, if we end up using a lot of fast carbs, fried foods, and these things that end up causing the spikes of glucose and sugar in the blood and then insulin, then the anti-inflammatory benefits decrease. So we can really give our body a boost in Ramadan. We should be coming out of Ramadan feeling might be a little bit weaker, but it's because it's cleaned house. You should be the health should be at the next level, even for diabetics, even for people who are because I get this question like, I'm diabetic, should I fast? Fasting can be very beneficial for you if you use the right approach. And um, inshallah, some of these tips will be useful. But you have to check with if you have a physician, because the dosage of your medicine matters. Some people get hypoglycemic; their sugar levels drop too much, and that has to do with medicine. So I really can't comment on that right now. Okay. Anything else about Western medicine that I think would be useful? I think this anti-cancer and anti-inflammatory and autophagy and apoptosis is the main benefit that I think, an anti-inflammatory benefit is that something that would be, from a Western perspective, really important. And mixing that in with the Chinese way of eating, or the Eastern Islamic medical way of eating, will give you the best of the two approaches, inshallah. Okay, and then I'll go through the next couple of slides, and people can ask some questions. All right, exercises, everything people always bring up with me. It all depends what constitution you have. So someone who is deficient, their yin fluids are very, very, very depleted. Near the end of the fast, they sleep, rest is very important, or light exercise, maybe walking, stretching. If you're an excess type, then that time right before the end of the at the end of the fast, before you break fast, you can go hard. From a Western perspective, it really will pull out all the glycogen from your liver and from your other muscles, and it'll help in your detox and push your body further. But you can handle it. So that time right before iftar is good for exercise, strength exercise. If a person has excess, they will see benefits in their inflammation. They'll decrease their inflammation, and really make the body bounce back into resilience that other things can't do, because you've already gone through a long fast and you're now exercising. But it's not for everybody, because if you end up being a deficient type person and then pushing yourself, then your yin fluids will be too depleted, and that's a damage to them, and so you'll find that your health could get worse. So it all depends what kind of person you are. Everyone has to be a little bit of in touch with themselves. Am I a deficient type? Am I an excess type? Am I hot? Am I cold? Most people will know this. Of course, practitioners can read those things as soon as when they meet people. At a superficial level, though, I think we can all probably know about ourselves a little bit. And I think that's sufficient for the exercise. Is there one last? Oh, sleep, right. So I did mention a little bit already that sleep is a yin nourishing activity. Exercise is yang. Sleep is yin. So napping and we know that in Ramadan we're pushing ourselves, but being in touch and knowing our limits is really important. And I'm kind of the wrong person to be talking about this, because people who deplete their yin fluids too much and burn the candles at both ends end up having various health problems and being tired and graying too early. So I'm honestly, I should be talking to myself, but we have to preserve and balance our body as much as we can, and recognize the symptoms that, oh, this is our limit. So yes, ibadah, and this is the time to benefit. But if we push ourselves and sleep late because of ibadah, what we're doing is we're further depleting yin. And during the 9 to 11 o'clock p.m. window is the most important time to preserve yin. So in Ramadan, once you finish your iftar and tarawih, and to sleep as early as possible, even for a little brief moment, and getting up is better than staying up and then sleeping too late, because you miss the yin window. The window of yin replenishment happens between the hours of 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. So like an ideal time to sleep is like 10, 10:30, 11. So you can use that window for yin replenishment. That's when it starts, and then it does that yin replenishment, and then you're able to wake up and do more. But that early window is very important. And of course, if you're not getting enough at night, then to sleep during the day and not pushing through to a point where you might end up by not having enough sleep, all these pathways of the glycemic index spiking and then insulin and inflammation, all that is also affected if you don't sleep properly. You're not able to, even if you're eating right, your body doesn't respond as well, and you have all this damage, oxidative stress on the body. So I think that's a good summary, inshallah. Do I have any more slides? We could probably take some questions. If anything anyone didn't understand, happy to go back to it.
Oh, mashallah. Shukran, Dr. Rehan. You have lots of questions waiting for
Are
you.
you okay? Okay, good.
Very informative, very informative. I have my own key takeaways and I won't take up the time to do that. So what I'll do is I will give you some of those questions so that you can answer them. We'll do our best to get most of them. So we had one question, which was what type of food should be eaten at suhoor? Because you kind of focused on foods after. So we have a question about foods eaten at suhoor before the fast began. What would you be recommending as far as that?
It's similar because you're still approaching things from a slow glycemic index point and a nourishment of yin. So having the porridges and the fruit, for example, in suhoor is actually good because people end up drinking all this water and they're up all night and they're and then drink all this water right before, and then every hour after they have to get up, break their sleep to go to the washroom. So fruits end up having they lock in moisture into the fruit, which doesn't release into the blood so fast. So it can take it's satiating, and then it also releases its fluid slowly. So very similar to the other things that we're talking about, the yin foods that end up storing a lot of moisture in the food and then releasing it slow is better than this is not as simple as just drink water. Yin, it's water, it's fluid, so drink fluid. It's not as simple as that. The Eastern therapies have energies for different things, for different foods. And so in the whole food, eating the whole food has a deeper impact on yin than just drinking like a fluid. So having yin-rich foods after iftar and in the suhoor it's similar.
Okay. Okay, so we have another question really quickly that was asked about what foods are best for liver support? Do you have any foods that come for liver support?
So this is its own world, right? Like once we start talking about the different organs and what foods target those organs, we also have to look at, is that organ deficient? Is it excess? Is it hot, cold? So it'll get into details that I won't be able to cover fully. I'm trying to keep this at a level that this might be people's first exposure to the energetics of food. So if we keep it at kind of yin yang, hot, cold is better. If we go into the elements and the different organs, I have too many questions to ask before I can advise.
Okay, no problem. So we did get a couple of people who really wanted to know, well, how do you know what exactly your constitute? How do you know you're hot or cold or damp or dry? And if you can shed a little bit of light on that, because quite a few people asked about that as well.
Right. So this is its own science. It's an art and a science, and practitioners are able to determine the very specific details of that. But you can have a general sense. Like if you are a big man with a big voice, and when you get a cold, you're in so much pain, and you're hot, and these are signs of excess heat. All right, a lot of men have this. If you're a lighter woman who feels cold, her voice is not so loud, not a booming voice. when she gets sick, it kind of drags on instead of this painful one episode. That's a deficient type, cold type constitution. And then you have everything in between. So these are it's first. The first step is becoming aware that this is how that this world of energy exists, and then you will slowly start thinking like this. I mean, it's inshallah we're going to break this down further at some point, but it takes a little time to understand. Right now, you just have to see, like, how do I feel in Ramadan? Do I feel cold, or do I feel like me, for example? I feel quite hot in Ramadan, and that's because I have too much yang energy. I need to nourish. I need a lot of yin, and so and that happens when the yang is high. Then you end up being kind of wired. You have a lot of energy, but then you're tired too, but you're wired but tired, right? You have dryness in your hair. Because there's oxidative stress, so you'll gray faster. Your skin will be a little bit dry. A person who is damp will feel, once they're sitting, they can't get up. They have a lot of maybe water retention in the body. They may feel also cold. So you can, it's hard to explain everything right now, but can you, am I giving us somewhat of an explanation here? Like, is it making sense?
Okay. It is making sense. It is making absolute sense. I'm going to feed you a little bit more of the questions that we have here. You did a great job with that. That was excellent and quite clear. There are people who are asking about sluggish digestion, constipation.
Dampness.
So people really, there's quite a few questions about that. And so if you can expound on that as well. You had mentioned the clearing out with the traffic. So they're just trying to get an idea of if that's what you were talking about or something else. So if you can expound on that.
Energy in the body can be that clearing of the traffic is not just for digestion. It can be for anything. For example, I have pain in my arm, and in that itself, it could be a blockage of how energy is flowing. That's why acupuncture and cupping, that's how they work. They end up opening channels. So the particular medicine, because the slide was about clearing heat, so I was just explaining the concept that sometimes it's not just about adding more, it's about helping to open. And herbs and foods work in that manner. Their energetics clear more rather than tonify. It's not just all about that. So if you're talking about the bowels, then this in Ramadan, it can also be from different causes. And sluggish digestion is not necessarily the same as, so words are very specific, right? So you said sluggish digestion and constipation. Sluggish digestion is one thing. It could lead to constipation, but doesn't always. So if a sluggishness is more signs of dampness, just like a damp towel. You can so much you can understand from that dampness of it. It feels heavy and harder to get off and get moving. Has too much fluid in it. Okay, so that will require more hot foods and drying. Okay. For constipation, it depends where it's coming from. So it can be because sluggishness, but it also can become because there's not enough fluids. All right. So sluggishness is a type of like too much moisture. Constipation can also be because not enough yin fluids. So when you drink water, your water goes into the digestive tract and then it gets used up into the body and it comes out from your kidneys. But if you're not drinking enough fluid, then that fluid will end up being needed in the body, and the body will actually extract that from the large intestine from your stool. So you're actually absorbing fluid that needed to be excreted actually, and that's not very good in Ramadan. We're working against ourselves. It's that stuff should be excreted, but because we didn't have enough fluid, it ends up causing constipation. So now your stool is dry because there's a lack of fluid inside the stool to help it. That's why oatmeal is so good. So look at the things that I'm giving recommendations of. They're like there's layers to their benefits. So oatmeal, for example, is not only a nourishing in food, but it helps. It has a huge amount of soluble fiber. Soluble fiber allows for the binding of bile that is extracted from the liver and goes into the large intestine. And if there's no soluble fiber, oftentimes the body will reabsorb the fats and cholesterol and triglycerides from the large intestine. But when you have soluble fiber, it binds it, and then it allows it to be excreted from the stool. So it helps in detox as well as provide this yin benefits. There's like layers of benefits to some of the foods that are listed here.
Excellent. Okay, we still have many more questions. However,
All right.
we're coming to the end of the session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a poll, everyone. We definitely want your feedback. You will find that there will be a poll that will pop up on your screen to let us know what are your thoughts about this event, and we'll still continue taking some questions. Now, I can tell you that there's a couple of people asking, are you taking patients? So we have that.
Well, I was just going to say that. Inshallah, I hope we can, benefit everyone in this. I'm still trying to have a way that I can dispel more information, but I can't take patients right now. I'm inshallah, maybe Allah will make a way where we can handle more patients, but currently we're not at correct capacity.
No problem. So what we do have is another question related to that. So people are just looking for more knowledge on this subject. Do you have any books that you would recommend, materials that you would recommend? Because some of the information that you gave is really quite, it's amazing. And so they're looking for, where do they go for more knowledge as a resource for what you're sharing today?
So I think if you wanted to share my some of the social media things I've been releasing information, and I'm planning on having like a regular class on this, because there's just so much more to give. So it'll be updated at some point on social media. I'll let pay. We're actually going to do the class. So if you want to, then I can. There's lots of different books and a lot of different areas to learn more about this stuff. But it's not ready yet. So inshallah, I'm trying to get there. If people are interested, you're welcome to reach out to me. I also need help trying to. I'm technologically not very savvy, so there's things that end up I need help with, or organizing or something. It might be a way to get this going further. So if you are really interested in learning and helping out in some way, hey, I could use your help.
Okay. So we'll definitely make sure that we share your information with our attendees. Thank you, everyone who's finishing the poll. Continue to do that. We definitely want your feedback. There are quite a few other questions. You have tons of questions here. And there was someone who really wanted to know what made you interested in science or this study? How did you get to be interested in this?
I was doing sports medicine, kinesiology, and pretty much headed towards Western medicine. And then I met a Muslim naturopathic doctor, and I think I don't know what occasion it was. Maybe it was Valentine's or something, but his office was filled with flowers. And I was like, wow, I don't know any other doctors that get this type of love from their patients. And so the proof was kind of in the pudding. It's naturopathic medicine is all about health and helping people get really good and then just go away. We don't want you part of the patient base. You empower people to be healthy themselves. So I saw something in natural therapies that is curative. Western medicine is it's managing. Of course, they have their forte. You can't do surgical procedures. You need them. You can't just do you can't not do them. So emergency medicine and heroic acute medicine, Western medicine dominates. But for health and balance, the Eastern therapies, there's nothing like it. So I was more interested in that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for sharing that. So we have another question. You were recommending foods, but there's a question about are there any supplements that you would recommend that people take?
Okay, so that's another very
Area.
exhaustive topic. But
Okay.
generally, if the Western medicine, against they focus on standardized extracts. Oh, take ginseng because it has these genocides, and then we're gonna make sure every capsule has this much of that substance, and then you can just take that. That's not how it works. Like you can take a supplement here and there to give yourself a boost. That I'm okay with that. But as soon as you start taking something regularly, then you have to consider its energetic balance. I said ginger, for example, and turmeric. People are like, oh, turmeric has anti-inflammatory benefits. I'm going to take turmeric every day. Well, that's a very hot and drying herb or supplement. If you take it every day, you're going to get dry, right? So we don't look at things from their standardized extracts and from their Western perspectives, their molecular or reduced benefits. We look at things from their energy. So if a person is balanced, then their digestion is strong, then they're going to extract from their foods everything that's going to be beneficial, and the body will balance itself out. But if the digestion is weak, right, so it's a spleen chi or the digestive capacity, then we won't be able to extract. So then we have to take an extra supplement in a liquid form to help get some nutrients that we're missing because they're passed into the stool. So the goal is to help the root cause, not to just taking supplements is actually in itself a bandage. So there's different levels to medicine, right? Taking supplements is a natural level, which is good, better than just taking drugs and anti-inflammatories or temporary. Deeper than that is being helping yourself be balanced.
Okay. So there's still more questions. And again, I wanted to thank everyone. Continue answering that poll. We appreciate your responses. We want to know and be able to identify whether this is something that you want more of. We have another question about water fasting from an Eastern medicine's perspective versus a Western perspective, or any information about water fasting. And I'll try to get a few more questions after that. But yes, so water fasting. What would you like to share about that for us?
Yeah, water fasting. It's there's benefits. There's benefits to it. It's so there's a lot of books on water fasting, and you can reverse a lot of conditions from it. But it is heavy. It's hard on the body, similar to fasting in general. You're avoiding the foods, but some constitutions handle it better than others. I've myself done a 10-day water fast, so it can. There's huge benefits to it, but it all depends on where your health is. So water fasting, if you're going to do that, it should be done under medical supervision. So if it's over 3 days.
If it's over 3 days? We have some people who say, why do I feel great during the fast? And then I feel worse after I eat. I have aches, I have pains.
Right.
Some people said I have lots of energy while I'm fasting. And then once I eat, I'm sluggish. So if you can touch on that, that's a couple of questions blended into one.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about with see, when inflammation goes down. So there's no insulin hasn't been every time you put something in your mouth, insulin is released. So because no insulin is being released, your inflammation is down. So people feel really good during the fast sometimes. But then if you're eating the wrong foods, especially that are very high in their glycemic index, your sluggishness will go up. So having more gentler, more nourishing foods will decrease the glycemic spike and then the insulin secretion. So what I'm giving is the formula of how to make sure that eating small amount, eating less, making it nourishment, yin nourishing, and avoiding the greasy things and the things that we're talking about will avoid that sluggishness, because that what's happening is your body is not responding well to the foods you're eating. You're having a you're mitigating all these benefits of fasting. You want to be energetic um, after the fast, and from the food that you eat. Like I I was in my 10-day fast a long time ago. I remember when I broke my fast, all I had was like a small slice of like a fruit, and I remember the fruit tasted just incredible. I was just like, the amount of dopamine that was released just from that one piece of fruit, and the amount of energy it gave me, and the amount of how I responded to the foods was incredible. So it means that the body is responding well, and it's sitting well, and it's using it well. If things that you're eating are not sitting well and they're causing you to fatigue and tiredness, and you're eating biryani or samosas, and then you're can't all gassy and stuff, that means your body's struggling, and it's not good for you.
Okay. We have quite a few questions, and maybe it's because not sleeping during the time that you mentioned. And so they're wondering, what's the solution for that? You mentioned 9 to 11. There are people who they never get to bed before 12, or people who are
Yeah.
working. Is there a solution for that? Because that's a big deal when you mention getting that proper rest between that first part of the night.
I mean, the Prophet ﷺ, we know that he used to, right after Isha, he used to go and take rest. And so he's our model, and we try to make we try to design our lifestyle to the best as we can. Of course, we're in all different stages of our life, so we aim for it. We aim to do our best in the times that we can. Like, people have night shift, people have all types of different things they're doing. Then as you age, it'll become more and more important. When we're younger, we just have more of a store, and we can take more liberties with our health. But the goal is to inevitably get to as close to the lifestyle of the Prophet ﷺ in healthy ways as possible, and in the circumstances that we can't, then inshallah, I mean, Allah can do anything He wants, right? He can make us, it doesn't have to take any means to get to an end.
Yes. So you have another 15 questions, but we are out of time. We have shared your social media and your socials in the chat. Everyone, if you have not completed the survey, please do that for us. We do want to close out, but I definitely want to thank you, Dr. Rehan, for coming and sharing all your knowledge and your wisdom, based off of the number of questions. This is a really hot topic, and we appreciate you taking the time to share that with us today. We'll go ahead and close out the program, but I do want to say shukran lakum jamian. And until we meet again, ila liqa. And so we're going to have Hafiz Ustad Hassan Ali to go ahead and close out our program. Again, shukran for joining us. And thank you everyone for all of the questions that you've had today. If you haven't completed the survey, please let us know what your thoughts are. Hafiz Hassan Ali.
اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا مولانا محمد وأصحاب سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحان الله وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.
So if you are still with us right now, just wanted to let you know we did have about 250 people on the call. And if you're looking for more, join us next Sunday for Journeying with the Qur'an, inspired by the sacred history for deeper engagement. Inshallah. We'll see you till next time. Assalamu.